Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of my YouTube channel. Today we are discussing a super hot topic in America, at least right now, and that is our upcoming election. And what I really wanted to talk about, not necessarily the election, but how politics can sometimes play out in our relationships. So today's topic is called Politics and Our Relationships. And some of the things that I've been noticing as a couples therapist is oftentimes we can have political discussions in our relationships and it creates conflict. A lot of times what I've been noticing recently is that couples are on two different sides of the political beliefs or views, and so it's creating a lot of conflict in relationships. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk about how to talk about politics in your relationship when you guys see things differently. So instead of it becoming detrimental or hurtful and harmful to your relationship, you guys can still be in relationship and also have these discussions, or choose to not to. It's really okay to talk about politics. It's just what happens as a result if we don't know how to talk about it in a way where we create space for understanding instead of listening to just react or respond. So I just wanted to go over some quick steps of what I've noticed when it comes to politics and when it can become detrimental. And I actually just did a podcast about this too, so if you want to click over to Shrink Chats after this video and listen to the podcast, please feel free to do that. So here's what I've noticed, is oftentimes when we get into these political discussions, we're quick to defend, and then we want to be right. So we stay in that position of I'm right, you're wrong. We listen to react, and then we get or respond, and then we get these tunnel vision. And the other thing, when it comes to our relationship, it's a perpetual issue. When you see two different sides of this issue, it's a perpetual issue. If I'm liberal and my partner's conservative, those are two belief systems that we're going to hold on to. And remember, Dr. John Gottman, when he talks about conflict in relationships, there's perpetual and there's solvable problems. And with our perpetual problems, what's underneath that is a belief or value system that we're holding on to that we're really not going to compromise on. And politics is one of those, guys. So when we are having a political discussion, you've got to ask yourself, what's the goal? If my goal is to change my partner's, belief system about what they, about being a liberal or a conservative, I'm probably not going to change that. So maybe my goal needs to be, what do I want to understand about where my partner's coming from? Again, it's not like you can't have this discussion. You can. It's just you need to learn how to do it in a way that's more productive and that doesn't create harm in your relationship. You're going to have conflict, whether it's about politics or not. Conflict is going to be in your relationship. And Dr. Gottman says, it's not about resolving all your issues. It's about learning how to talk through them. So here's the other thing, guys. Out of all the reading that I've been doing lately about politics in our relationship, the one thing that we have to remember is that we need to value our relationship more. And when we kind of think about that, politics is just one part of who we are. Just like religion, just like, what's holiday traditions we want to celebrate, just like, how we see the world. And so when we're in relationship with someone, we want to continue to value the relationship over, this I'm right, you're wrong stance, okay? So we need to set healthy boundaries. When it comes to talking about politics, if we can set some boundaries of, for example, when we're going to talk about politics. One of the things, because it's such an issue that can create conflict very quickly, if we're setting up boundaries around, I'm going to agree not to just randomly bring up politics. So let's say my partner's making dinner and we're talking about the weather. If I all of a sudden just bring up I can't believe you see it this way, he's going to be more quick to defend. So if we have an understanding and a boundary of, hey, we're going to set limits on when we talk about it. If in that same example, another boundary is if I just randomly bring it up, instead of him being quick to defend, a boundary is we can take breaks. And I've made a video on this too. It's always okay to take a break, especially if I start to feel flooded. If I'm feeling flooded, I need to take a break. So I call it, in this instance, a quick 5. If I randomly bring up a boundary or bring up a political issue outside of our boundaries, my partner says, hey, time for a quick 5. And in that quick 5 minutes, maybe we're both taking deep breaths, and then we're coming back to the table and renegotiating. Is this the time we want to talk about politics, or do we want to table it for our scheduled or negotiated time? And again, that's how we're working together, because we value the relationship more. And then, another boundary is limiting our time on social media. Now, I think we should do this just for a lot of different reasons, but especially right now, one of the things that we want to do is we want to limit the time that we have when it comes to social media, because there's a lot of stuff going on social media right now. And so if we can limit that time, it's a way actually where we're going to feel a little bit better, because we're not going to be drawn into who's having what fight over what political issue and what's my say in this, and then we're going to bring that kind of frustration and irritability home to our partner. So please, looking at how to set some boundaries around social media as well. Another thing to remember, besides valuing the relationship, is accepting the difference. And can you do that? I recently read, when I was reading about politics in the relationship, I've also been reading that a lot of online dating sites are now putting up what's your political party, and you can choose to put it or not put it down. But people are also deciding to not date someone of a different political party. And I think it was something like a 30% rise in people starting to turn down a date or a match or a thumbs up or whatever it is, that if they're not in the same political party. Oh, swipe right or swipe left if they're not in the same political party. And so that's something new too that they're noticing, especially in this upcoming election. And the thing about that, guys, is that we're all unique and different, and usually we don't get in a relationship with someone who has everything aligned in the exact same way as who we are. And again, going back to Gottman's research, we're going to have conflict. We're two different people who see the world differently, and there are going to be times when we disagree. So accepting the difference is understanding that my partner and I see things differently here. And what do I want to understand about how my partner sees it, and what do I want my partner to understand about how I see it? In Gottman's work on perpetual issues and how to talk through perpetual issues, the first goal is to learn how to talk about it differently. So usually with perpetual issues, the heat gets turned up really quick, and we're getting into gridlock and into some really nasty fights. And instead is, how can we talk about this in a way that isn't hurtful or harmful to the relationship and detrimental, where I'm not in that attack, blame, criticize, defend mode, but I'm in a place where I'm listening to understand, because I value the relationship more. And valuing the relationship more doesn't mean that you're saying, oh yeah, you're right. Giving empathy or validating your partner's perspective doesn't mean, oh yeah, you're right, I'm the wrong, or oh, I agree with everything you're saying. What you're really saying is, in this moment, I hear you, I understand your perspective, I want to understand your perspective, but most importantly, I'm in this moment with you, or I'm hearing what you have to say. And typically when we can communicate that, we feel connected, even if we're seeing things differently. And so those are just some quick tips. So I want to go over them again. Usually what we find is that when it comes to seeing things differently in the political realm, we're quick to defend, we have tunnel vision, we listen to react, we get into a attack, blame, criticize, defend mode, we push away, and we hold on to it. we hold on to, oh my gosh, I can't believe my partner's singing this way, and we start to withdraw. And so what I want to say is, don't forget to take 5, take a break, set healthy boundaries around when you're going to talk about politics specifically, especially with the election being right around the table. It's okay that you see things differently. Accepting the difference, giving empathy and validation in the discussion doesn't mean that you agree with what your partner's saying or that they're right. It means I hear what you're saying. So we're listening to understand. We're setting boundaries and limits, not only about when we talk about it, how to take a break, but also limiting our time on social media, asking ourselves what's the goal of the discussion, and then most importantly, remembering you value the relationship more. And when we can hold on to that, we know that we can work through, even if it's just listening to understand your partner's perspective, work through it so it doesn't create hurt or harm to the relationship. All right, guys, so this is my video on politics in the relationship. Hopefully I have given you some good tips on how to talk about it, especially with the election being right around the corner. Take care. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for weekly updates all about relationships. Have a great day.